And welcome guys to today's stream. My name is Leal, as you guys already know, and today let's go full screen. And today we're gonna be working on I think Retopology. I mean, we might be doing this in sort of like a both thing, but we are going to be working on just a couple of projects while we talk, while we learn about the 3D world, while I explain like the goals and things for this year. It's a new year. I always like the beginning of New Year's because it's always a moment to again reflect on what you did last year and also try to do something new for the next year, right? Like plan ahead and see what your goals are going to be. Sarn is here as well. Let's go. And we got Ucharon. Let's go to the stream. There we go. Oh, not that one. Not that one. This one right here. So today's goal, we got 800 followers. Let's see if we can get there. So if you're not following and you're watching on Twitch, go ahead. Follow us and help us get to 700 today. We got By Rios on YouTube. We got Just Graphic as well. Says, I was able to learn so much in Maya because of your tutorials. Thank you so much for the tutorials. I'm now working on the 3D World project from Udemy. We'll share the final result with you. Awesome. And Just Graphic, if you share, if you guys, like not just for Just Graphic, this is for everyone. If you guys share the what's the word, the final result of your tutorials, of the Oni tutorial, of the Axe tutorial, or of the Island tutorial, you get a special title on Discord. And once we launch the new classes or the new courses in our site, there's going to be a certificate, like serialize a certificate that you will get if you kind of like pass the class, right? Because that's one thing about tutorials. A lot of people watch tutorials, they do the tutorials, but they don't get the feedback, so they don't know whether or not they did right. So if you submit your results, I will tell you if you're doing right or not. I will tell you what things to fix, and if you fix those, you're gonna get a certificate, like a nice little diploma that gives my seal of approval. And hopefully, as the years go by and the more people start doing our tutorials, that seal is gonna mean something, right? Because it means that you really did the job for that tutorial. End of year stream? Where is it? So where does that say? I changed that, didn't I? I thought I changed it. Check. Stream info. Oh, it didn't update. New year stream. There we go. Perfect. There we go. So let's see. We got another question here. Udaran says, "Hi, I've been following you from a long time. You helped me a lot with my 3D projects. Thank you. Making a Cyberpunk character recently, by the way. Happy New Year. Happy New Year, my friend. And I'm glad that I was able to help." Someone is asking if I have a. I saw someone asking if I had like a show face retopology. Yash, we already have a video on the YouTube channel. Let me show it real quick. I'll show you the cover. Come on, Windows. We do have a video about that, so you might want to check it. It's on the channel. Like if you look for face retopology on the YouTube channel, it should be there. Okay, so let's see. What do we do, guys? Let's do Retopo. That way I can answer some questions, because I really need to do the Retopo, because what's the word? I need to finish this for the course, for the Marvelous course, so that we can have the final render. So that's another thing that we're going to be doing, and we discovered this a couple of months ago, Sarn and I, when we were doing like the live streams and stuff. We're going to have sort of like bonus free chapters of our courses. And one of those bonus chapters was the sculpting of this mask. So this mask is going to be an important part of the project because it's like the Plague's Doctor mask. However, it's not going to be on the main project. It's going to be on YouTube. So if you guys want to check it out, it's already there. It's this mask right here. There we go. Look at this beauty. This is missing a couple of pieces, of course, but it's what we're going to be retopologizing today, and that way we can talk about retopology, because retopology, even though it's sort of like a boring topic, or not a lot of people like retopology, it's very, very important, and I feel like a lot of people like do it a little bit wrong sometimes, so we're going to do that. Let's see. Priyanshu is asking, how do you learn many softwares? I would suggest learning softwares in a sort of like, when you're learning a new software, the first thing that you need to do is have a goal. It's very basic and it's very simple, but that's the main idea. So if you want to learn ZBrush, have a goal. What do you want to know about ZBrush? Anatomy, character design, creature design, hard surface. If you want to learn Maya, do you want to know animation? Do you want to know effects? Do you want to know modeling? If you want to learn Unreal, do you want to know blueprints, like programming, whatever, right? If you're going to pick a software, you need to pick a specific goal and you start learning about that goal. In the way, you're going to be learning about other things that are necessary to that goal. Maybe some things about, like, I don't know, proportions, design, audio, effects, colors, notes. Like, there's so many things that you can learn when you are like approaching a specific goal. And once you get to that goal, you might not have the final realized goal. Like, you might still feel like you need to learn more. And that's when you go for the next goal. That's the way you improve. And I always think that that's a really good way to do it. That's why all of my tutorials, whenever I'm recording a tutorial, I always have a first chapter of like the interface and stuff, and then we do a project. Because just going through the tools and understanding what the tools do without seeing them applied into a project, I feel like that's a very like bad way to handle things, because then you just forget about them and it doesn't help with your learning experience. So that would be my advice for that. Let's see. Hello, sir. I have sent you my final output. My name is Rahil Master. Oh, that's going to start, Rahil. That's going to start once we have our new website. So that's still on the works. But don't worry. If you finish one of the previous courses, I will make an announcement when that thing is ready. And I'll let you guys submit so that I can start giving away those sort of like certificates. Very good. So this thing right here is the piece that we're going to be working today. And it's very, very important that we understand how to divide pieces when doing retopology. A very common issue with retopology is that people want to retopologize everything in a single asset. And you don't always need to do that. You can separate this into pieces. So for instance, this guy right here, this guy right here, this little guys right here, right? And pretty much all of these things, like all of the leather on the front of the mask, all of these pieces, this should be one single mesh. So I'm going to Control G to group it. Then all of these guys right here, well, let's hide the group. All of these guys right here should be another group. You can see that there's a couple of issues there. There we go. So all of these guys right here, I'm going to group it as well. That's going to be another like subset of the groups. This buckle right here, that's going to be another group. So Control G and we hide it. And finally, these things right here are going to be another sort of like group. I might even have like the bands as a separate group, and then this thing right here, which is missing a piece, as a separate group. So again, it's very, very important that we don't always try to do everything in a single like way, because it makes it a little bit difficult to change. Now, I'm going to do something here. This is something interesting. I am going to assign materials to the different parts so that I can mask them out later. You can see that this beak right here has these little dots, these little plates, right? Kind of like details, and of course the beak itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab, for instance, this beak right here, and it already has the AI standard surface 1. I'm going to assign a different material. So new material, let's do Arnold AI standard surface. And just for the funny thing, I'm going to assign this sort of like a blue color. There we go. And then this one's right here. I'm going to assign a new material. Again, Arnold, AI standard surface. And I'm going to assign a red color. And this one's right here. I'm going to assign a new material, Arnold, AI standard surface. And this one's going to be a yellow color. Does anyone know why I'm doing this? I feel like in the classroom now, just teaching my class. Does anyone know why we assign this sort of like colors to these elements, to these high poly elements? That's the key point there. Gonna wait a couple of seconds there. That's right, JJ. See, that's right. Pratmash there. That's right. ID maps. We're gonna be using later on this thing. They're gonna be ID maps for Substance Painter. That's exactly right. So yeah. Now, Mr. J is asking, are you a professor at the university? Yes, I've been teaching since 2013. In universities, I've been teaching since 2016, but I've been teaching since 2013, like privately and stuff like that. So yeah, I got like plenty of experience teaching. That's why I think that's why I have a good a good ability there. Okay, so now that we have this, we're gonna combine this. We're just gonna go mesh and combine. By the way, all of these meshes are already decimated. And even though they're decimated, it's still quite high. You can see that it's 2 million polygons or 2 million triangles right here. It's perfectly fine. Okay, don't be afraid of poly counts. Yeah, Sarn's gonna get the cookie now. There you go. Let's see. Is there another question? Someone told me to learn Substance Designer. What's that? It's usually used to generate materials. I don't find it as useful for at least for my indie sort of like experience. I don't find it as useful. Okay, let's go Quadro. Oh, okay. Wait a second. There. We're gonna make this live. There we go. And now we're gonna go Quadro and we're gonna start drawing. Now here's the big question. If we're doing retopology, do we capture the silhouette of this red piece, like the borders and everything, or do we just go over it? Let's make a boat, Sarn. Can we make a boat? if we're doing retopology, do we go over it like this, or do we capture the silhouette of the element like this? What is the right answer for retopology? It's a tricky question, but it's a good question, okay? So let me know in the comments, and there's gonna be a vote in just a second. Do we capture the silhouette, or do we go over the silhouette? Black Ops says a capture. That's one vote for capture. So is there another capture? Second one for capture. Second way, capture. But makes sense. It depends upon how much depth is it, right? It depends, says JJ. What answer should be though? No, don't worry, Sarno. We'll skip it since people are already answering here in the chat. The silhouette. So the answer is, it depends. And it's a tricky question. It's a horrible answer, I know. But it depends on the game, on the sort of like quality that your game is going to have. If it's going to be a game for mobile, for VR, where poly count is like really important for performance, then you're usually going to go like this. You're just going to capture the silhouette with a normal map like this, even though the depth is like a little bit thick. However, if you really want to go like the extra mile and you want your stuff to be like really, really nice, then yes, as a lot of you guys are saying, we should capture the silhouette. Now, we shouldn't go and like do an overkill here. Usually, whenever you have a curvature, this is important, you want to capture at least 3 points of the curvature. That I would say it's a good like compromise for the curvature of an object. Because if you go a little bit higher than that, you can get some issues. Again, here, for instance, I actually like to push this a little bit outside of the silhouette, as you can see right there, so that it's not affecting it too much. And triangles are also quite important. Like a lot of people are scared of triangles, but triangles are fine, especially in props that are not going to deform, such as this mask. This mask is always going to be a solid object. It's never going to deform. And especially this metal part is never going to deform, right? So as long as you have that, that's going to be fine. And that's one very interesting thing about the 3D world. I often go to like Reddit and other forums. And the 3D world is a very opinionated, it's a very opinionated world. So a lot of people will have very strong opinions on how things should be made. And the thing about that is that more often than not, all of the answers are correct. So it really depends on the project. The director at the school I went to Noman, Alex Alvarez, he had a quote back in the day that was like, don't worry too much about topology. People worry too much about topology. Topology is a tool, okay? It's not a rule. There's no topology police, he used to say, that's gonna go to your house and like take away your computer because you messed up topology. So don't sweat it about topology, okay? It's fine. As long as the topology is flowing in the way it should flow, and as long as you're capturing the details that you should be capturing, it's fine. Doesn't really matter. Or it doesn't really matter too much. It's the same with code, right? I'm not sure if we got coders here over on the stream. Like for instance, this thing right here. A lot of people are like, oh, that's a very strong silhouette, right? Like we should capture it. I would argue like, nah, like, it's just a sphere. It's just a dot. Like, yes, it looks nice, but unless we want to spend like 8 polygons right there, right? If we want to capture this, we need at least 8 polygons going around this thing like this. And then we'll need to do something like that. That's a little bit too much, right? Again, it can be done. That's how I would capture that little dot right there. But it's just gonna be, in my opinion, a little bit too much. I mean, I already did it, so I'm gonna keep it, but you don't always need to keep those sort of elements, okay? These corners, though, they are important. That's what baking is for, right? Like, once you get into baking, you're gonna discover which parts of your modeling are good and which parts are bad. That's another thing that I see people like frequently like make mistakes about when doing their retopology. They will not go back. Like they just do the bakes, and if they see a mistake, they're like, ah, that's fine, I'll keep it like that, and I'll just try to fix it on the texture or something. No, you need to go back, retopologize. You might need to redo the UVs as well, and that's it. Okay, so don't be afraid to redo a couple of things every now and then. I remember when I was doing the Thyros character, and even in the video, I think on the course, I explained that to people. It's like, yeah, you're gonna have to do it. Now this hole, for instance, there's absolutely no need to capture it, nor any of the details that are like carved in, because all of those details are gonna be captured on the normal map. Let's see. Do you have books or recommendations for 3D artists? Yes, I got 3 that are like my favorite go-to, but they're anatomy related. So I got Dynamic Anatomy by Hogarth. I got ZBrush Character Design by Madeline Scott Spencer. That one's very good. And of course, Bridgman's Complete Guide to Drawing from Life. All of those are anatomy books that I strongly recommend. And we got another follower. Who is that? Farhan Warsi. Hey, thanks for the follow, man. Farhan, you were not following? I know you, man. You've been one of our students for a long time. Were you not following? Oh, I'm gonna get angry, man. Nah, just kidding. Thanks for the sub, man. Or the follow. Thanks for the follow. Yes, we're streaming. We're streaming in Twitch and in YouTube at the same time. Multi-stream. We're in the future now. I used to do, what's the word? I used to do only one stream, but then I look up over the rules and now you can do both. So it's just easier. Oh, you want the Twitch link? Yeah, give me 1 second. Or sorry, are you on the YouTube chat? So you can like send them the Twitch link as well. We'll get you the link in just a second, Abdu. Just a second. Yeah, Constructed Anatomy by Bridgman is an amazing one as well. What's the name of my website? It's not done yet, but it's going to be criticalhitstudio.com. I think it's .com. Pretty sure it's .com. It's not available yet, though. Yeah, I know, Abdu. We're going to get you a link soon there on YouTube. There you go. I often heard that having a bad topology is something that can make you a bad candidate. Yes. It's not, well, I mean... Again, it depends. And I hate those answers because it's so ambiguous, right? So subjective. Topology is an important tool, as with anything in 3D. However, focusing too much on topology and sacrificing other things about your work can also be detrimental. What you want about your topology is, if your character is going to be deforming, you want a topology that can deform properly. That's where knowing about the topology of a character is very important. For instance, if you're talking about props like this one right here that I'm retopologizing, the main thing that you want is you want to keep everything in quads and triangles. That's very basic, right? Like keep everything as symmetrical as possible. Keep the density in a nice place. Like you don't want to have like super big squares in certain areas and then super small squares on others. As long as the transition is nice, that's going to give you a good result. And you don't want to be adding unnecessary geometry, right? Like one of the most important things I would say about topology is performance. The reason why we do topology or retopology is to be able to work with the assets. Nowadays, we do have options like Nanite that allow you to work with like trillions of polygons, and that's fine. But again, it's usually a good idea to be as clean as possible, right? So if you can keep all of those things clean, then your topology should be fine. Like I've seen so many portfolios where topology is like, yeah, I mean, it could be a little bit better, but does it really matter? Maybe not. And in that case, you just like keep going, right? So again, it's very subjective, but there are other workflows. So for instance, if you're working for film where they take subdivision workflow very, very seriously, where you like smooth your object, in those particular instances, you do need to be very, very careful about topology. If you're doing like a car, for instance, or if you're doing like a robotic part, it's going to be smoothing. Like there are situations where topology is, I would say, critical. So if you are working on those projects, then yes, you need to have really, really, really clean topology. If it's like game assets like this one right here, I mean, again, it's debatable whether or not you really need to spend the extra time like making sure it's as clean as possible. But as long as it's like good enough, it's good enough. That's a quote that one of my teachers used to tell me on my portfolio class, by the way. He was like, hey, sometimes good enough is just good enough. And he was so true. For instance, here, right? Like as you can see, I'm following this sort of like border, and I'm gonna get to this point where I don't have the border. So I have two options. Do I add one more line to capture the border, or do I just like close it? In this case, I think it really doesn't hurt if we just add one more line to continue and complete the border right here. It's just gonna help a little bit, right? So yeah, those are the kind of decisions that you're gonna be making once you're doing topology. The good thing about retopology for games, like in this asset right here, is that again, you don't really need to worry about deformation. So as long as you're capturing the silhouette and you're following like the traditional topology rules, you should be fine. What is more important for being a 3D artist, a skill set or decrease? The skill set, like by far. That's a funny, I'm going to tell you a funny story. There's a very famous school, and if there's anyone on the Twitch or in the YouTube chat that's from one of my students from that school, let me know. You guys are going to be able to back me up on this. There's a very famous school here in Mexico called Tecnológico de Monterrey. It's one of the most expensive schools on the country. I don't want to compare it to like Harvard, because I mean, Harvard is Harvard, right? Or the MIT, but they're really, really, really good. I think they're like in the top 20 or top 10 universities in America or something like that. It's a really big school. And a couple of years ago, they called me and they wanted me to teach classes over there, modeling and sculpting. And I told them, hey, sure, I would love to. However, I technically don't have a master's degree. I just have my certificate from Noman, and that's it. And they were like, oh, really? It's like, we saw your portfolio and we were very impressed. So we didn't know that you didn't have the degree. So they made like exceptions and they moved a lot of things so that I could teach there, because they valued my portfolio. They say like, hey, if you can teach the students how to do what you do, then we're happy. And that's the thing about our stuff, about art stuff in general, is that it doesn't matter what degree you have. It matters that you can show how to do the things that you do. Sunny Hastes, thanks for the follow, man. There you go. Welcome to Twitch. Now, this is an important question. I am going to add a little bit of a lip right here on this beak of the character, but I'm not going to retopologize all of this inside part. Can anyone tell me why? Can anyone tell me why we're not going to retopologize all that inside part? Will you upload your class in Udemy after your own website? Yes, we will be uploading some stuff to Udemy, but again, Nilesh, I'm gonna make sure that the classes that are on my website are as affordable to Udemy. I'm gonna try to do like localized pricing as well, so that it's not expensive for you guys. So I'm gonna try and be, again, as fair as possible. But this is a sort of like a business decision that we need to take, so that we can ensure that we can continue to do this. It's just an unfortunate, it's not unfortunate. I actually am quite like happy about this, about what we're going to be doing. Why am I doing this so low poly? What's the word? Roma? Because it's a small piece. Like, this is a very small piece. If you compare it to the rest of the mask, man, like, this is going to be quite dense. Like, not super dense, but it's going to be quite dense. Can we go higher poly count? Yes, of course. And I've shown this trick before where you can smooth out your object to get like extra polygons, and then you can conform it to the, what's the word? You can conform it to the shape, and you're gonna get like a very nice resolution. I'll show you in just a second. As soon as I finish the peak, I'll show you that technique again. Like 2 triangles there, absolutely no problem, because they form or they conform with the silhouette. Just a Mistaf, welcome, man. Thanks for the sub. Oh, because we won't see it since exactly. This is gonna be inside of the mask, so we're never gonna see it. So there's no reason to waste topology there. And texture space, very importantly, a lot of people forget about texture space. But texture space is another like it's one of the big bottlenecks nowadays. By the way, polygons are not what's the word? Polygons are no longer like one of the main bottlenecks in games or in film. It's texture space, because you need to load all of that textures into the render engine, and that can become quite expensive. So if we save texture space, if we're not using pixels that are never going to be seen, then that makes our textures a little bit better. This is a tricky area. Pay attention here. I'm gonna do one guy right there. There we go. And then one guy right here. And then that point right there is going to be an important one, because there's going to be a switch in sort of flow in that specific position. And that's it. If you get extra points, you can just double click and clear dots over there. And that's going to erase the points. That's a tricky one right there. I always like to keep a center line. That's like one of my go-to recommendations whenever we're doing retopology. Always keep a symmetry line, especially for pieces that are symmetrical. Now, some of you might be very insightfully looking at all of the scratches, and you're like, wait, but this is not perfectly symmetrical. It is silhouettely symmetrical, right? So the details and the damage and things like that, they're not exactly symmetrical, but the silhouette is pretty much symmetrical. So we can just do the retopology from one side and then mirror it to the other. That's going to save us a little bit of, well, not a little bit, quite a bit of time. Let's see. Solid Mango says, is it important to learn how to draw in order to learn sculpting? Not really, but it helps. Any skill that you can have when getting into 3D or into art in general can help you. Any skill. Well, not any, right? I mean, if you're, I don't know, like a runner, then I don't know how that could help you with 3D, but what I mean is there are a lot of skills in the art world, painting, sculpting, what's the word, drawing, that if you know about them, it can help you understand other aspects of the 3D world later on. So it's not mandatory, but if you can do it, if you can afford it, if you can take some time, both in time and in money, because of course learning extra skills can be expensive with materials and things like that, then I do recommend. Like, I did learn how to draw, I did learn how to paint, I do know how to do traditional sculpting, I know how to do like miniature painting, for instance. So there's a lot of things. Every skill, again, every sort of like skill that you can add to your repertoire can help you on your stuff. Is doing degree important in this field? It is important because it will open up opportunities for you. If you're just self-taught and you just learn everything from the internet, the problem is you're going to have a little bit of a hard time competing against people who have a more formal education. I'm not saying it's impossible. There's plenty of people out there that have been able to get a job without having formal education. However, if you go to a school, you're going to meet people who work in the industry. You're going to have contacts. Your friends are going to go and work in other studios. They might call you back later on. So all of those, like the social aspect of the 3D world, I do think going to a school is very valuable for that. So like I get that question very often here in Mexico from my students, is like, should I spend money on learning 3D in a school? And it's like, yes, because for instance, here in Mexico, having a degree is very, very important. It opens a lot of opportunities for you. And even though you could potentially prove that you're really good without a degree, again, it just helps, right? If you can afford it. If you can't afford it, which I know might be the situation for some people, then it is possible to make it as a self-taught artist with just tutorials and YouTube and stuff like that. It's perfectly valid. I've had several students like that. Or I've had several students that had a formal education in another field, like, I don't know, engineering or architecture, and then they learn all of the tools about 3D on their own, and then they start making a career on 3D. So again, there's ways to do it. There's ways to do it. What should I do to learn anatomy, drawing or sculpting? I mean, if you want to be a character artist, Nabeen, then definitely sculpting. There you go. Thanks for the follow, Meijin Exia and Ras3D. Thank you, guys. Chilakit says, lo que no se ve no se modela. That is right. What you don't see, you don't model. Don't model. That's it. Simple as that. Okay, this one's going to be a tricky one. Is that, for instance, this one right here, this is a topology issue that's very common. Whenever you have a star, that means that you can probably simplify somewhere or somehow in a different fashion to avoid having that star. So I'm going to push this one back here, and instead of this thing flowing down, I'm going to make this thing flow to the side right there. And even if I need like a triangle here, this triangle is going to allow me to kind of like recover, right, the sort of like straight edge flow that we want over here. Again, as I was mentioning, this is a very, very tricky, very thin area right there. The topology is going to be a little bit intense. And here we can do, I've heard this referred to as stitching, where you just create a lot of triangles that all stitch to one specific point. So for instance, that triangle right there, see that? And again, since it's a flat area that's not going to deform, that's perfectly fine. Don't worry too much about that. Let's see. How are you smoothing the polys? Shift. If you press shift, you can relax the polys and they're gonna like flow around the surface. Make sure that your object is set to live surface so that you can get that thing so that thing is like actually moving. We're very close to our goal now. If my calculations are not wrong, we're like what, like 7 people away? There you go. Oh, by the way, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but it could really help us. If you guys are subscribed to Amazon Prime, every month you get one free Twitch subscription, like Twitch Prime subscription. So you can use that on us, on us if you want. And you're not going to pay a single cent. That's money that you're taking away from Jeff Bezos and giving to a lucky streamer. So I made my whole family now during Christmas help us with that as well. Well, not my whole family, but a couple of cousins of mine, they were like, hey, I'm streaming, you're not subscribed. Come on, man, help me out. So yeah, that's a good little tip there. Hey, Abe, more into degrees. I'm a psychology major, but 3D design minor. Would that be okay? Ooh, most Korean. That's a tricky question. So As a psychology major, wow, that's a big change. So if you're a psychology major, my advice would be to try to go a little bit more into storytelling and maybe like a character design. So because you know more about like the human mind, right? So I feel like those are things that could really help you. It can definitely be done. So yeah, but it's a little bit more of a tricky question. My wife, she's a psychologist as well. She's got a PhD in psychology, and she always, like, whenever we play D&D and things like that, she always comes up with like very intense characters. We're always like, damn. But yeah, it's an interesting, like, it can definitely be done. It's a little bit like unorthodox, right? It's not very common, but it can definitely be done. As to Alpha Mega says, I have a very specific question. I make a backpack for my game character, and if I want the backpack to hang on one shoulder and the character holds it by one strap in the final pose, like Cool Guys, where it's at school, when is the best time to break symmetry and put your backpack in this position? During high poly or after retopology or texturing? After retopology and texturing, I would pose the backpack at the very end. That will be my my advice for that one. Okay, now we're just missing this one right here. And if you're doing a circle or a circular shape, you need 8 faces. So you make a little square with 2 divisions, and then you kind of like start flaring it out like this. And then depending on how high or how, depending on the height of this thing, you start going around it like this. That's how you make that's how you retopologize a circular shape. And we're gonna talk about what Roman mentioned in just a second. We're gonna see whether we stay with this sort of like resolution that we have right now, or whether we go a little bit lower or higher. Sorry, higher. For instance, here, this red piece, it's very like flush to this piece right there. So I'm not gonna bother on like capturing it. I'm just gonna pretty much draw on top of it. It's really not changing the silhouette that much, right? If this happens, you can press a tab, and tab is another way to just do this. I might just create like just triangulate all of that over there. Rihan says, sir, I'm not a proper organic character artist, and I'm not perfect hard surface artist. I purchased your 3 courses and I completed. So, sir, please guide me. What can I do? What way can I choose? I would need to see. Well, I mean, that's a complicated question, because what to do on the 3D world depends a lot on what your goal is with the 3D world. If you want to make a living in the 3D world, my best advice is do whatever you are best at. And I know that sounds very sort of like general and stuff like that, but that's like literally like my best advice on that specific. Well, let's save before anything bad happens. Let's call this Retop. There we go. So I don't remember who I saw. Well, I mean, this is a very, very sort of like famous take on making a living, right? Do what you're good at. Do what you're best at, because that's what's gonna pay you. And then if there's things that you like, but you might not be as good doing, in those cases, just try to do that as a side thing, as a sort of, I don't want to say a hobby, but try to do that as a side thing. And if you do that and you start like doing well, then you might be able to make the jump and do that as your like full-time thing. Here's a trick. I'm gonna grab this whole thing. I'm gonna say mesh, fill hole, and then with my cut tool, I'm just gonna triangulate that. There we go. So that's it. That's the half peak right there. I'm gonna go to my front view. I'm gonna grab this whole edge. It's probably gonna grab all of the outer edges, so we just deselect them. We grab just the center edge. There we go. R to scale. Scale them to the center, and we snap it to the center. And immediately what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab it, shift right click, and we're gonna mirror on the world X negative axis, combine with the original, merge threshold custom 0.001, and hit apply. That is to make sure that we're not like merging points that we don't want to merge. And you can see that we're getting a little bit of an issue there. Oh wait, that's my fault. What the hell happened there? Let's push this one out a little bit. Well, grab 2 of those and merge together. There we go. I probably grabbed them by mistake. Now again, we mirror this, and there we go. So ideally, what we should have is we should have a center line. And and no angons. There is a very weird bug with Maya where the mirror will give you angons. Sometimes. I don't know why it happens. There we go. Look at that. Sometimes it happens. It's very annoying. And this has been happening since like Maya 2018. It's a very, very buggy thing about Maya. There we go. So of course, this one, we would do mesh display and soften edge. And that right there, that's perfectly fine, because usually on the game, it's going to be very, very difficult that you're going to be seeing a close-up shot at this distance, right? Like you're not going to be seeing at this distance. You're usually going to be seeing roughly at this distance. So if the silhouette and the volumes look good at this distance, then you're fine. This was based on the question that Roma was asking, like, do we need to make this like super high density? We don't. Now, if you want to, here's a trick that you can do. I'm going to call this a beak low. And let's duplicate. I might be missing some questions. I apologize, guys. Now, like the streams have been getting bigger and bigger. So why are you doing mirroring instead of turning on a symmetry? Because I've had very bad crashes with symmetry, and I just like to have a little bit more control, if that makes sense. I love everything about 3D except when the software crashes and all your work goes kaboom. Saini Hastings is asking for the Discord. Actually, I don't think we have that command, but there you go, man. Thanks, Arn. What is your workflow from making blockout to retopo to texturing? Exactly that. I make the high poly, like I make a blockout, I make the high poly, I make the retopo, I bake, and I texture. Like very, very traditional. Happy New Year, Berg! Welcome to the stream. Jaxie says, I got an economics degree, but now I do motion graphics and 3D animation for the board game industry. Nice! I love board games. Just gotta learn the softwares and make good work. Oh, and be really good to work with. Well, here's the thing, man. I don't think, like, it is important to be really good at it, but I've seen so many games, like indie games, video games. I've seen board games that are sort of like indie games. The other day, my brother and I have a D&D group. I've mentioned this before. And we played this game. I strongly recommend it to you guys. If you guys are into RPGs, it's called Honey Heist. It's the most fucking hilarious thing you're gonna be playing if you're good at RPGs. You are a bear. You're a bear. Like everyone is a bear. And the goal of the bears is to steal a honeypot, like a magical honeypot or something. It's just like a single one-page RPG. You learn the rules in 20 seconds. And we had fun for like 3 or 4 hours. We still talk about this, like this session that we had playing Honey Heist. It's just, I mean, it's just ridiculous. So that's when that's my position about games and creation and art in general, right? You don't have to be like a super master, like amazing artist to create cool stuff. Like that thing right there, it's a one-page RPG. It doesn't even have art or drawings, or I believe it has just some like doodles. And it's a magnificent game. It's an amazing game, right? So same thing for 3D. You don't need to be creating freaking Kratos from God of War all the time. You can be creating something simple, something that's yours, and something that's gonna make people happy, right? That people are gonna enjoy. So don't always try to go for like the most amazing things. It's always good, right, to achieve or try to go for big goals. But there's also, I find there's also, or I believe there's also a lot of joy and a lot of happiness to be found in simple things. Chad, Chad is asking, do you ever do portfolio reviews? Yes, it's on January 19th. We're gonna have our next one. You can submit on Discord. The post is already open. There you go, clean house. Thank you for the kind words. Adnan, yes, work experience wins over degree experience. So if you've never have a degree, if you've never went to university, but you've worked on several games in your career, that speaks volumes, because that means that you know how to work, right? So yeah, it's that wins. Okay, here's the trick, guys. Pay attention. If you have a low poly version of your object, like this one, and you want to have a higher poly version without having to do the retopology again, as long as your topology is roughly good, what you can do here is you can go to mesh and smooth this thing once. I recommend just once. It's going to look very, very smooth. This could potentially already be a really good like bake for your element. Like you could literally just use this one and that's fine, but you do lose a lot of like the hard borders that you might have created for your element. So you're gonna grab your high poly again, and then you're gonna grab this new low poly, and you're gonna go to mesh, conform, and you're gonna conform at the 0.001 along normals and hit apply. what that will do is it will push the vertex of your object closer to the surface of your element. I do this a lot for characters, for instance. And look at that. This looks way closer to what you have. And the silhouette is just going to be cleaner. It does increase the polygon quite a bit. This one is at 5,000 polygons, but it's going to give you a very nice result. You can see all of the elements. You just need to check to make sure that you don't have any like weird bumps. Like for instance, there's a little bit of a weird bump right there. It's not going to affect you once you do the bakes, and I might do the bakes on this one just to show you guys. But yeah, just keep that in mind. So depending, for instance, if you're working on a game that has LODs, you might want to do this trick. So I'm going to call this V2, low V2, so that I know that that is another one right there. Okay, let's hide this once and let's go to the next piece. Thank you, Clean. I love you too. I'm glad you guys like the content. We're going to have, this is another like nice announcement. Starting next week, we're going to have weekly just like challenges, just a simple challenge. It's going to be something just to have more interaction there in the Discord channel. So I'm going to give you a prompt. Sometimes I might give you a model and you are supposed to sculpt it or texture it or maybe animate it. I don't know. We'll see. But we'll start next week. So on Monday, we're going to be launching the challenge. There's not going to be prizes or anything. It's just to, get the creativity going. And if you're looking for something to work on, then that might give you a little bit of a direction. I don't think I told Sarn about this one yet. But yeah, Sarn, we're going to be doing that now. Just a small weekly contest on the Discord. And then we're going to have bigger contests as well. Is displacement better than normal? Yes, it is better than normal because it creates a real geometry opposed to a normal map, which is not geometry. It's just the, what's the word? It's not geometry. It's just a fake of the normal. So it's just a visual sort of like trick. It is very expensive, as JJ says. Yes, it's very expensive because it's actual geometry, but it's very cool. Okay, so let's assign materials to this thing as well. So I'm gonna grab these two guys right here and assign a new material, Arnold. It can share the same materials as the other ones. It's relatively easy to, what's the word? To mask things out when they are like this. Assign new material, Arnold, center surface, violet, material, Arnold, center surface, green, assign material, Arnold, center surface, and this one's going to be a light blue. There we go. So is your next course going to be on Udemy or your own website? The next course, the Marvelous Designer course, is going to be on my own website. The next course after that, which is going to be the anatomy, it's going to be on both sides. And we'll see. We're playing around, guys. It's well, not playing around, but we're figuring things out because the project so far, like this new channel, this new brand has been working very nicely. And I want to see if I can translate it into a sort of like full-time thing. And that's going to depend, of course, on your support, on your donations, on the courses, on everything, and on the revenue at the end of the day, right? If I can use this and support my family, support myself and stuff like that, then we're going to be able to, what's the word? We're going to be able to transfer that. So we'll see. The idea right now is to move everything to my own website, see how that goes. We might be combining certain courses, maybe not all, with Udemy. And yeah, that's pretty much the plan. How to unwrap a model, high poly or low poly? Low poly, always low poly. Like you don't need to unwrap the high poly. There's absolutely no need to unwrap the high poly. Let's save real quick. And before anything bad happens. Clean the house. Have you ever done a video where you sculpt something? Dude, I've been doing videos like those since like 6 years. So yeah, if you go into the channel, man, I don't remember which one it is. I'm gonna have to look it up, but yeah, on the YouTube channel, there's tons of materials about like the whole process. I think actually I know which one. I did a very simple coin. And I did sculpt in ZBrush, and then I did the retopo in Maya, and then I did the textures in Substance, and then we even did like dynamics in Maya again. So look for the coin. There's a couple of videos about a coin. It's a simple asset. I know it's a very simple prop, but it teaches you like the workflow. Now, if you want to go deep into the process, the Blender course where I do the axe, it's not the sculpting in ZBrush, but you can easily translate the same techniques into ZBrush, and then we do the retopo in Blender, and then we do Substance Painter as well. So yeah. And about the question, Priyanshu, don't feel bad, huh? I yesterday I got a message that made me feel very bad because someone was like, "Hey, I've been struggling with this. I don't know what is a UV, and I'm a student in this university, and I feel very ashamed." It's like, no, dude, don't feel ashamed. It's like, come on, every single one of us was there at one point. So I was like, dude, there's no stupid questions. Ask as many questions as you want. I was the annoying student back in school, back at Noman. I was the annoying student that would just like ask the same question like maybe 2 or 3 times until I completely understood it. But then one day, one of my friends told me, dude, you are always asking questions. And I thought he was gonna be like mean to me. And he was like, thank you, because I had the same questions, but I was too like afraid of asking them. I was like, yeah, I'll rather just like make a fool out of myself once, learn what the thing is, and then just keep going. So there's absolutely no stupid questions. Just keep asking, okay? Keep asking. Now, if I answer the same question to you like 5 or 6 times, then we need to talk about like learning processes, because that means that something's not working. You're having some issues with information or with like processing information, which again, it's completely normal. Some people have that. That's fine, and we will need to find other strategies. Whenever I teach at the university, I always tell them this is like, if you have a question, ask once, and I'll repeat it the same way. If you still have the question, I'll repeat it in a different way. And if you still have the question, I'll do another example. If after those 3 things, you still have the question, then we need to have another conversation, because like, yeah, at that point, it's a different thing. Could you clarify the rule on what to soften the edges for UV unwrap? If you have a hard surface model and you want to keep a very crisp line, you want to harden that edge. So usually, again, hard surface things like guns, armor, and things like that, when you have a hard edge, you're going to harden that edge. But everything else usually is supposed to be softened edge, because otherwise you're going to see the faceting of your object, especially for things like this. Like if we go, let me go back to like the beak. So if you take a look at this beak and I do not harden it, or if I harden the surface, mesh display, and we harden edge, look at that. Looks horrible, looks pixelated, and it would look like this on the game as well. So see how there's so much like irregularity on the whole thing? It just looks very, very bad. But if we soften this edge, again, mesh display, soften edge, it cleans that up. It gives a fake sort of softness to the thing, because we're not smoothing. It's still like the traditional poly modeling. So it's not smoothing, but the normal map, you're going to capture all of the normal map. So this surface, even if it looks lumpy, it's going to change once you project the normal map onto it. So again, especially for organic things, you're usually going to be doing smooth normals. Again, this guy's right here. Do we need to capture them? No, fuck that. That's extra polygons that we don't need. They're not changing the silhouette. Like if you watch the silhouette, they're barely changing it. So no necessary. We've been getting a lot of questions about UV lightning. So for sure, and please, Sarn, if you can write this somewhere so that we don't forget, we are going to be doing a I'm actually going to show you the UVs for this one. Like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it on the stream, but I'm going to use this mask to show you, again, the principles of UV mapping, because it's one of those questions that I've been getting like a lot this week. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because people don't teach UVs properly. So I'm going to teach you UVs properly, and I'm going to show you why they're important and the tools that you can use. Yes, we're going to do a UV tutorial. See, I remember when I learned UVs, and they were tricky. But I feel like now with new tools, I don't know, people kind of like make them way more complicated than they should be. I don't know. But yeah, we'll take a look at UVs. Don't worry, guys. I got your back. How are we doing on our goal? Can anyone tell me on the chat? Because I don't have the stat right here. The goal is to get to 700 followers here on Twitch. If you're not following, there you go. Demon Amen. Thanks for the follow, man. 697. Oh, 3 more. Very close. Nice. We're very close to the goal today. 2 more now. 2 more. Nice. Burke is asking, Abraham, do you think to make film quality characters as a course using Udemy's? Yes. We're going to do one like that as well, Burke. We've been getting a lot of requests for that. So again, the order of courses, at least for this first month of the year, is January, we release the Marvelous Designer course. February, we're gonna release the We're gonna release the anatomy course, because anatomy is something that like human anatomy. Because I know I did the Oni, but the Oni is very stylized, so we're gonna do more of a traditional anatomy course, my style. And well, not Nike style, like realistic style, but my teaching style is what they meant. And then the next course, which is going to be March, I want to do a creature because we haven't done a creature. And I'm thinking about doing a creature sort of like Godzilla, you know, like a big kaiju creature. Realistically, like you say, Burke. So with UDIMs and everything, maybe compose it onto like a live footage plate or something. That would be, I think that would be nice. It's definitely going to be a little bit more of an advanced course because I'm going to be using tools that you need to be like a little bit used to. But that's hopefully going to be for March. And my plan is to do, I tried that last year, but due to other factors, I couldn't fulfill that promise. I was trying to do one course per month. Again, it was not possible. But this year, things are going to change a little bit on the studio, so I might be able to do that. Again, if you guys keep supporting this, it's easier for me. I got a family to take care of. That's why it gets a little bit tricky sometimes. I know I mentioned it before. I'm married and I got a little kid. It's a little girl. She's 2 years old. Well, she's gonna be 3 years this year. See, I think we should increase goal to higher number every stream, and if goal is accomplished, we should do a giveaway on that stream. That seems good. I like that idea. I like that idea, Sarn. Do we do a giveaway on this one if we get to? Because now we're very close. It feels like cheating. Let's go here. Let's see. Adnan says, I have my name only on one gaming title, and that is Microsoft Flight Simulator. Yeah, again, that's fine. Any credit that you have on your name or in any game, it's good. Remember, the credits, one of the things about credits, it's not so much about how big the project was or how big your contribution to the project was. It's more about that you have worked on a team before. That's another thing that they don't tell you about the 3D world. We still work with people. I know we tend to be very like shy persons, right? Like we tend to be very, I wouldn't say private, but we are very, not all the time, right? But sometimes, I hate when this happens. This thing's going inside. So we as artists, we tend to be quite introverts, I would say. And when you're working on a project, on a big project, on a studio, you're going to have to deal with clients. You're going to have to deal with HR. You're going to have to deal with investors. You're going to have to deal with a lot of things, a lot of people. So you need to learn soft skills, right? Teamwork, communication, what else? Patience, to work under pressure, things like that. And that's a problem with a lot of artists nowadays. They graduate from school, very talented artists. They have very strong portfolios. They graduate from school, but when they join the workforce, they suck at social skills. They can't communicate. They can't like just talk and say, hey, I'm finished with my work, for instance. Like I've got that happen to me several times. It's like, dude, if you're finished, tell me so I can tell you what's next. But no, they just are like, oh, I'm finished. I'm just going to wait until they ask me or something. And they just are wasting time, and time is money, right? In the business perspective. So having your name on a project means that you've worked on a project, that you've worked with a team. And that should mean that you have those skills, those soft skills to do stuff. You have love marriage, Ave? I'm not sure what that means, but yeah, I very much love my wife. I met her when I came back from the US. Met her here in Mexico. We got married like what? 4 years ago? 5 years? I think it's gonna be 5 years. Okay. This is a tricky one. And the reason why it's a tricky one is because, as you can see, we have a very clear silhouette with this blue thing. And I'm going a little bit dense on the topology. But this is an important part of the mask, so that's why I'm trying to capture it. No, she's not into 3D. No, as I mentioned, she is a psychologist like major, and she's got a PhD in psychology, Gestalt psychology. She's really, really good. this one here. There we go. Chat says, I've worked on a team on an old project it's not up to my current standards. Should I keep it and should? Yeah, I mean, yeah. As long as there's not big gaps on your resume, that's fine. And even some gaps, as long as you can justify them, that's perfectly fine. I think nowadays the work culture has gotten a little bit more permissive, I would say. Like, for instance, my wife, she's got a gap on her resume because when our daughter was born, she took 1 year off to take for the daughter, right? So when she mentions that, everyone's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's fine, doesn't matter. But if you're like, yeah, I worked for 2 years on the industry and then I stopped working for 10 years and now I'm back, people are gonna question it because they're gonna be like, oh, you might not be up to date to the most current tools, to the most current workflows, things like that. And that's when things can get a little bit tricky. Are you also a nerd like most of us? Me? Dude, of course. Ask me anything about my nerd hobbies and I'm not gonna stop talking. In India, parents find girl boy. For you, it's called arranged marriage. Oh, see, it's not an arranged marriage because like that didn't happen, but our parents do know each other from a long time. We never met like formally before I started like dating her, but it was funny when we like told our parents like, hey, we're dating, because they've been friends for a long time. So they were acquaintances, right? It was funny, but no, it was not arranged. It was not arranged. In Mexico, it's not very common for that to happen, to be honest. No, well, sorry, in your case, and someone else also mentioned about like psychology and economy and stuff like that. If you're making a change, like a career change, again, that can be easily explained. You just say, yeah, I made a career change. But all of the skills that you have from your previous career, they work. They are going to help you somehow. They will help you somehow. I'm a huge proponent of just like, again, learning as many things as you can, because every single thing that you learn about can and will help you somehow. Communication, teamwork, team management, for instance, that's another big one. Team management is a big one that it's very valuable in companies, and not a lot of people have it. Let's see, we got, have you ever want to work? Yeah, my dream of work, when I was first starting in 3D, my dream was to work at Weta, but the immigration things and traveling there, it's a little bit tricky. And now, I mean, you get older and you start valuing other things like family and things like that. So another big goal of mine was to work for Blizzard at the cinematics department. But again, you grow older and you realize like, there might be other things in life. So it doesn't matter if you don't work there, as long as you're happy and you can share your stuff, right, with the world, like what I'm doing here. Nowadays, if you ask me, I would love to work for like Larian Studios, you know, the guys that did like Baldur's 3. Like if I could get like a freelance work for them and do like a character or like a creature, that would be fun. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Or if I could do, I don't know, like a statue for like some superhero, I don't know, like projects like that would be cool. Yeah, like Blur or Blizzard. But here's the thing, Burke, I'm not sure if you've heard the rumors, but working at Blizzard or at Blur, it's hard. Like the times are hard, the pay, they say it's not that good, the ambient and the project, the timelines are very tense. So again, that's when, as you get older, you start like putting things in perspective and in scale and be like, do I want to be at my job for like 12 hours every day? Or do I prefer to just go home and spend time with my family and friends? You know, that's the kind of stuff that you start like getting. Stiefelbauer is on the house. What's up, man? Welcome to the first stream of the year. We're doing some Retopo. It's not the most exciting, but you guys are making it very, very fun, because I was dreading doing this process by myself. Now that I can talk about the 3D world and talk to you guys, it's a lot funner. And you're learning, hopefully, about like how to do this kind of stuff. Cruz is asking, Abraham, I heard that CAD software is very common in the weapon art industry. Is that true? Yes, I've seen some workflows where they use CAD like Reno or SolidWorks or things like that to design the stuff. And you gotta keep something in mind. a lot of the guns that they designed for like Call of Duty and things like that, they've already been done for the real world, right? Like they're just copies of the M4, the M16, things like that. So if you already have the CAD models of those guns, of those attachments and things like that, it becomes a little bit easier to just transform them into game-ready models. It is a pain. You got to do a lot of what I'm doing right now, which is retopology, because CAD works with curves, with nerfs, with non-uniform rational B-splines, and they suck for games. So you do need to do a lot of cleanup work, which is quite unfortunate. I hate when this happens. I have to go to vertex mode, grab that fucker, and bring it out. There you go. So yeah, it is done. Like people use CAD models as well for games. We had a client last year at the studio, or was it last year or 2 years ago? I don't know. They were doing some architectural like remodelings, and we did a VR visualization of the project, and they sent the CAD files, and I was like, oh fuck. And we spent at one point they were like, oh, we're gonna sell on the models, and we gave them a quote based on the fact that they were gonna send the models. And I thought that the architect was doing it in like 3D Max or Google SketchUp or something like that, and that I was gonna have access to polygons. But no, they did it in like some weird CAD software, and I had to. I just told them, hey man, like these models don't work. Like we're gonna use them, but we're gonna have to remodel a lot of stuff. We're gonna have to increase the quote because these are not compatible, and there's no way to make them compatible. Thankfully, they did understood, so they were like, yeah, that's fine. Just make it. There you go. It's a clean topology right there. What are the most necessary projects we should keep in our portfolio if we want to apply for a game studio? Assets. I would say assets are the thing that studios do the most. So if you want to be a game artist, you need to have some sort of like big environment piece, like a house or like a, I don't know, like a windmill, something that shows that you can work on big assets. You might want to have small assets like chests, guns, swords, shields. What I see people do quite a bit for games is they do a small interior scene with a lot of props, and then do a big like exterior scene again with a lot of props, and maybe another like hero prop, like a big vehicle or something. So yeah, that's usually what I see for environment people. A very good friend of mine, she got her first job at Insomniac Games, I think. Was it Insomniac or was it Sony Santa Monica? I don't remember. And she did that. Like her portfolio were 3 environment pieces, 3 rooms, 1 interior, 1 exterior. I think it was 2 interiors. 1 was realistic, the other one was stylized, and 1 exterior. Nah, Modbox is death, man. There's a couple of workflows that still might use it, but to be honest, like you can do anything that you can do in Modbox, you can do somewhere else. So I wouldn't recommend anyone spending time on Modbox. It has some really nice like displacement and bump workflows where you can paint displacement and paint bump maps. But again, nowadays you can like I would rather learn Mari than Modbox, to be honest. Do I play games? Yes, not a lot these days, because I do have a very busy schedule. Yesterday I was playing with my brother. We played a little bit of Monster Hunter. We're huge fans of Monster Hunter, so we play Monster Hunter Rise. And this freaking Gargolom like literally fucked us. We couldn't beat that guy. It was one of the events. Like the amount of health that he has was just ridiculous. Couldn't beat it. It was fun. Like we tried like 3 times and we couldn't beat it. We hadn't played in a while, so we were a little bit rusty. But yeah, it was fun. Sometimes do game live streams also, you know, just for chill. We tried that once. We did that for Baldur's Gate when it released. But the thing is, when I play games, I really get into the game and I don't talk. So it gets boring just watching that dude play, right? But yeah, we might try it later on. Unreal really getting paid this year? What do you mean? Let's see. Where are you from? How long have you been a 3D artist? I've been a 3D artist for... Well, this year's gonna be 14 years, I think. I started in 2011. 2011? 13 years? I think I started in 2011. Oh, let's see. What is your favorite game? I'm more into story-based action games. Red Dead Redemption 2 is my all-time favorite games. I still play it even after many years. So, what's the word? Here, for instance, just a quick thing, guys. I'm gonna go to the top part of the stitches. This is very important because I'm not gonna do every single stitch. So again, just that, and that's gonna capture the stitch into the normal map. It's not gonna give you the best resolution, but it's gonna like work fair enough. So favorite games. My favorite game of all time is Paper Mario. That was one of my favorite games when I was a little kid. It just got me into one of the games that got me into gaming. Paper Mario, and then the sequel, Thousand Year Door. I'm looking forward to the remake that they're gonna do this year for the Switch. I'm a huge fan of Monster Hunter, as I mentioned. I played World of Warcraft for a long time. I've been having that itch lately. It's like, oh, I'm gonna install it and just play a little bit. But I know that if I start playing, I'm gonna lose or waste a lot of time. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it. What else? I'm a huge D&D fan, as you guys know. Right now, we've been playing Pathfinder for the past year. We play pretty much every 2 weeks. I love chess. I've been playing chess for like 3 years now. Really enjoyed that one as well. Although I had to block it as well because I would just, again, lose a lot of time there. Horde or Alliance? Horde, for the Horde. When I first started playing, I was a, what's the word? A dwarf, because I love dwarfs. But then as I grew older, I switched to a Tauren. And then in Legion, I played with a panda. They're not called pandas, right? What was their name? Pandaren. Right? It was Pandaren? I think it was Pandaren. For the Horde! Yeah. Yeah, I played with a monk Pandaren. I had a great time with that guy. Monks as tanks in WoW, at least back then, they surprised me. They were really, really fun because you could like redistribute your damage, and you could tank like really big hits because you would receive the damage over time. So if you had a good healer, it was really, really good. Pandaren, yeah, that's right. Oh, sorry guys. I've been getting a little bit sick lately. Well, Aki, the thing is, D&D is a game that you make the story. So it's a different kind of game. It's called an RPG, a tabletop RPG. And D&D is a framework of rules. So you learn the rules, the basic rules, and then you put the players into a world that you create or that you can follow. There are worlds that you can follow. And then decisions are made, shit happens, and things get very fun. But you do need a group of people, a group of friends that you feel comfortable just like messing around with, because it's not an organized or like video game. There are games that follow the D&D sort of like rules, like Baldur's Gate. If I would recommend one that really, really captures the feel of D&D, but playing D&D on a table with your friends, it's just a different thing. It's just a different experience. It's not a lecture if you've done sneeze. Yeah, right? No, I don't have the sneezes right now, but I'm just like I don't know, what's the word? I was gonna say constipated. That's not constipated. It's like stuffed. I don't know what the word in English is. Just got a lot of snot. Never played TTRPG. Is there any single TTRPG? Again, there's a bunch of them. Some of them are more complicated than others. I've been playing Pathfinder 2 this past year. Pathfinder 2, or 2nd edition, is a variation of course, Pathfinder 1st edition, which in turn is a variation of D&D 3rd edition, or 3.5 edition. So it's a little bit heavy on the numbers, it's a little bit heavy on the calculations, but it's a very solid system. However, if you just want to play it safe, D&D 5th edition is really good. It's a really good starting point. I switched because of a drama that happened last year with some like licensing and things like that, and in support of like, again, indie developers, I decided to switch to what's the word, to Pathfinder with my crew. I have saw that on Stranger Things. Yeah. So on Stranger Things, they play D&D 1st edition, which was another type of, well, it's another version of the game. So with each edition that they release, there is a switch in rules. They balance things out. They just make it a little bit easier and more accessible for players. But the thing about TTRPGs is that you need someone called the Game Master, which is the guy that's going to be running the game. It's going to be coming up with the story and the ideas. And that is a sort of, I'm not gonna say a lonely role, because it's very fun, but it's a different, like, it's two games that you're playing. The DM is playing one game and the players are playing another game. The DM is playing the planning and the building game, and the players are rolling with the rules inside of that game. So you need to decide if you want to be a DM or if you want to be a player. If you want to be a player, then you need to find a DM. If you want to be a DM, it's easier to find players. I personally am a DM, so I've been DMing for a long time as well. Now look at these triangles, guys. See how we have a bunch of triangles like here and there, and that's it. Because all of these parts, they're going to be underneath the glass or the metal like elements that we're still missing for this thing. So we don't need to worry too much about geometry there. And again, it's an object that's not going to deform. It's not going to be animated. I mean, it might be animated where he moves the head, right? The thing's going to move as well, but it's not going to deform. It's not going to bend, which is the important bit. And all of this information that we have here in the stitches, all of that's going to be captured. Franco Dross! Thanks for the follow, man. You're helping us get to the goal today. I believe we're really close. Really, really close. Okay. Now here's the trick. See all of this area right here? It's a very big area, right? It's going to take us a long time to just go do square by square. So one of my best advices when retopologizing is just do one big square or a couple of big squares like this. Like this. 2 big squares. Find how many you're going to need here. So that's 4. So you first finish this area right here, which is a lot easier. You just need like 3 squares. And then you just fill this in, fill this in, fill this in, and relax. Remember, you relax with shift. Look at that. We get clean topology, and it took us, what, 10 seconds. Can someone clip that? I'm gonna do a short about that. I'm not sure how like creating shorts works, but or creating clips, but that's a good one. Franco says, hey Abraham, I'm going to be having my first job interview ever for a tech artist position here in Argentina. Do you have any tips? Yes. My best tips for an interview is try to remain as calm as possible. If they gave you an interview, the real reason, well, not the real reason always, but when you're in an interview, one of the first things that you need to understand is that they want to know you as a person. They already know your work. They already saw your portfolio, most probably. So they want to know you as a person. If you're this weird guy that doesn't talk, doesn't express himself, that makes it tricky, right? But if you're outspoken, if you are respectful, if you ask questions about what role you're going to be having, the expectations that you might have or they might have about you, yeah, like just be a normal human being and try to communicate and present yourself as someone that's going to be easy to work with. That's one of the things that you want to try to like communicate across, that you're going to be someone that's going to be easy to work with. Another thing that you can try to do is to try to explain why you are a good option. Like maybe you explain, hey, I learn quickly. I am very good at trying new techniques. Like I remember there was an interview that I had a couple years ago for the Diablo commercial that I told you guys about. And they asked me, hey, have you used photogrammetry? And I was like, no, I haven't. However, I've been like learning a little bit about it, and I will be happy to explore the tools. And I asked them immediately in that moment, what tool are you using? And they told me. And at that point, like literally after the interview was over, I went ahead and learned a little bit about the tool. So the next time we talked, I was like, oh, by the way, I looked into this tool. It seems relatively simple or straightforward. I'm going to have to do some research, of course, to make sure that I can help you on that part as well. Because that was not part of the original thing that they wanted me to help it, but they asked if I knew about it. And they were really impressed that I took the initiative to just like look a little bit about that, right? So you want to make a good impression and try to be as calm as possible. I always tell my students, if you got the interview, if they're like willing to talk to you, that's already a good sign. So take it as a good sign. Like no one's gonna give you an interview just because like they're like, oh, I don't have anything else to do. Let's just start giving out interviews. No. They're interested, right? So if you already have that first sort of like approval from them, just make good use of it. Make a good impression. And one of the best ways to make a good impression is to present yourself as someone that's going to be easy to work with. That will be my advice. Hopefully that works. Sorry about that. Priyanshu, yes, my Stylized character course will introduce you to ZBrush in the first 2 chapters. So the first chapter is an interface introduction, and we do a very cool dragon's call. And then the second chapter, we do a little environment that we use later on at the end of the course for the Oni character. And then on the third chapter, we start working on the character. So yes, it will give you an introduction of the ZBrush tools, and then you jump into the character. It's I do consider it to be an intro level class, but it is a sort of like a intense introduction to ZBrush. It's not as simple as some others that I've done before. But if you are one of those students that like challenges, it's a really good challenge. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna be right back. And I'll answer your question, Xani. Sorry about that. My nose is completely stuffed, and the more I speak, the more stuffed I get, or it gets. Let's see. Hey, I got a question. Is uploading just a couple of characters fine for the first post in ArtStation as my portfolio? Yeah, it's fine. I see, portfolio has changed so much throughout the years. When I was a student, ArtStation was just beginning. Like it was like super like newly released. Actually, I remember on my portfolio classes, they didn't recommend you to use ArtStation. They recommended you to create your own website because it looked more formal and it looked like you cared more about your portfolio, stuff like that. But then it like ArtStation just blew up, and now it's the go-to like way to share your work. Like you don't even need a personal website anymore. It helps, of course, but you don't even need it, because if you have your stuff on ArtStation, people will find you, right? So my advice is, if you're gonna open your portfolio or your ArtStation, try to have at least like 3 or 4 pieces, so that when you open it, it's not just one single piece, because it does look a little bit sad when there's just one piece. So maybe just wait or divide your stuff into multiple pieces, because again, if people find your portfolio and they just see one piece, they'll be like, oh, it's just one, and just move along, right? So you usually want to have a little bit more stuff, but don't just fill your portfolio with lazy stuff or with exercises and tutorials. So that's why I'll tell my students, hey, if you're going to be preparing for your portfolio, let's say you're going to be graduating in like 6 months, right? Try to do one piece every month, and on the 6th month, you're going to open your portfolio because you're ready to find a job, right? And you're going to open your portfolio, and there's going to be 6 pieces on your portfolio. That speaks a little bit better than just having a single piece. Hopefully that makes sense. Retopologizing says, hi, I'm a recent graduate. I'm much older than most of the other students. I was just wondering if there's an age limit when joining the industry as a junior artist. If you don't mind me asking, what's your age? Because it's not the same if you tell me I'm like, I don't know, 24, 25, 26, like I'm 45, 47, right? If you want to share your age, if you're comfortable with it, go for it. If not, just tell me, no, I'm not comfortable. And nah, 29, you're fine, man. Yeah, 29, you're fine. Like even, I would say even like 35, 36, 37, you're still fine. Above 40, it gets a little bit tricky, but it gets a little bit tricky due to social reasons, not due to your skill. Because I don't know if you guys know, but most countries, they have some sort of like pension programs and things like that when they discount some money from your paycheck. And the older you get, the less sort of like desirable you are, because the quotes go higher, stuff like that. So yeah. It gets tricky, but again, it's not due to artistic reasons. It's due to like more social reasons, unfortunately. It's not impossible. Again, you might have a really, really strong portfolio and experience. And I assure you guys, there's always going to be a place where they're gonna value your stuff. But don't lose hope in that regards. Another thing that I suggest like frequently to students and to people is like, hey, all of the dream jobs that we heard about, right? Like Blizzard, Riot, Disney, Pixar. Of course, they're great projects. Of course, they're great places to work. Some of them have really good cultures. Some of them might not have the best cultures. But the thing is, there's so many other things to do in the world. like if you become an artist and you never work at those places, that doesn't mean that you were not a great artist. Like where you work or the projects that you work for do not say or do not make you a great artist or not. Those are the places that we hear the most from. But there's so much great art out there in projects that might never be mainstream. It happens in music, it happens in theater, it happens in writing. How many books have been written that are great books that will never see a mainstream appeal? So all of that stuff, like the art that you make, just because you made art, that's valuable. Where you work, it's cool, it's important, but it doesn't define you as a human, and it doesn't define you as an artist. And yeah, that's gonna go for a short because that was very philosophical, and I think it's very valuable, guys. Because society does put a little bit of a like high pressure on our shoulders, like, oh, if you're not working for big brands, for big projects, then you suck. You didn't make it. You failed. Fuck that. Now, you're happy with what you're doing. If you're making a living, a honorable living, and if you're making cool stuff that people enjoy, at least for me, that's all I can ask for. That's why I love this. That's why I love doing this with you guys and all of the support that you guys have been bringing to the project, because even though I have worked on some cool projects, to be honest, I've enjoyed this way more than all of the other like big projects that I've worked on. Let's see. Yeah, Wisdom. It says, I would rather create my own IP like Notch, sell it to someone like Microsoft, and that's fine. Sandy, hey, so wait, I should actually just keep that character and make other and post a bunch at some point? Yes. If you only have that one character, Sani, that would be my advice. Just save that one. I mean, if it's already up there, keep it there. That's fine. It's already there. Like, it doesn't matter. But wait a little bit more and add more stuff. You need more stuff on your portfolio. Again, my advice for a good portfolio is usually 5 to 7 pieces. 5 to 7 really good pieces. I say this all the time in portfolio review. Try to have at least 5 to 7 pieces on your portfolio, and that's going to give you a nice amount of information. Because sometimes I've seen portfolios where there's like one super amazing piece, super amazing, but that doesn't tell you a lot because it's just one. So how long did that person take to do that? How many softwares did he use? How many softwares does he know? Does he know other things? Because if it's just one character, for instance, does he know how to do like props or weapons? Does he know how to do vehicles? Like that's the sort of stuff that's why you need multiple pieces. Your portfolio is a presentation letter so that people know what kind of stuff you can make and then what's the range that you have. The hell? Oh, got a bad face right there. There we go. We're gonna have to do a bridge over here and another fill hole over here. Mesh, fill hole. There we go. And a bridge over here. Perfect. Yeah, it's looking good. Look at that, guys. Not bad, right? Very smooth, very uniform looking. Tree count, just 1100 pieces or 1100 triangles. It's gonna be double that, of course, when we mirror. But this is good. This is good. This is a good amount of polygons. I'm still gonna do one more little border right here to, again, hide the inside of the mask. But that's pretty much it. Nice to meet you, man. MG Experad. Nice to meet you as well. Am I retopologizing? Yes, I am retopologizing the Plague Doctor's mask that we've been working on for this past couple of months. Aki says, Harlan Sanders, the owner of KFC, starts KFC at 62. Yeah, and I don't have the books right here. I've been reading Brandon Sanderson. You guys might know him. He did the Mistborn series and he did the Stormlight Archives. Don't spoil anything. I'm still reading his stuff, so please don't spoil anything, or I promise you, I will ban you. So, and he has a very cool lecture where he talks about that. He says like, hey, if you're going to become a writer, you can just write your own stories, and maybe the only people that are gonna like read your stories are gonna be your friends and your family. But if you're happy with that, that's fine. Like, you don't need to be a freaking bestseller to be a writer. You don't, and I'm telling you guys this, you don't need to be working at the next God of War to be an amazing 3D artist. If you're doing models and people are buying them for 3D printing, if you're doing advertisement for your local businesses and companies, that's fine. You're doing 3D, you're happy doing 3D, you're making a living doing 3D, then hey, you did it, man. To me, you're an artist. And not any artist, you're an amazing artist, because you're here supporting this, having a great time. I started learning properly when I use other softwares than just Blender. Blender is a great software. It has a little bit of a bad reputation because some Blender communities, I'm not gonna say every Blender community, but several Blender communities have this sort of like Blender bro attitude where they're like, oh yeah, Blender's the best and it's the only software, and if you're using anything else and you're paying, you're stupid. It's like, yeah, dude, Blender is a cool tool. I use it. I love it. It's really cool. It actually has some really nice renders, some really nice plugins, some really nice tools. But there's also other tools. So at the end of the day, Blender is just that. It's a tool. Can you do cool stuff with other tools? Go for it. Like, using or not using Blender, again, it's not going to make you or not make you a great artist. It's just a tool. There we go. Is it done? Did I miss the spot? I think that's it. J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter for your kids. Then yeah, exactly. Yeah, and there's a lot of examples of people that do that. Songwriters, actors, actresses. I remember, who was it? I think like the Mandalorian guy, Pedro Pascal. He had very minor roles until he hit, I'm not sure if it was Game of Thrones that gave him the fame. But yeah, like that happens anywhere. But that's here's the thing, that's kind of like winning the lottery, right? So you need to be very, and that's my point with this whole thing. You need to be very honest with yourself and understand that you might not get that lottery. I might not get that lottery. That's fine. If you're still happy after someone tells you, hey, you're never gonna be big, that means that you are like way more honest with yourself. Because that's just how the world works, right? Like, I cannot guarantee you that you're gonna be working at the best studio. But I can help you and give you all of the skills and tools that I know about to give you the best chance. But again, don't value yourself on just that goal. There's so many other goals out there. We will make a GIF of that sound you just made. What sound? Yeah, Blender did change the freelance market, Priyanshu, because there's so many tools that you can use to make simple things without paying a cent. That could get you a nice like paying gig every now and then. So yeah. Let's see, Josh Roy, are you live every day at this time, sir? No, only Fridays. We're only streaming on Fridays right now. We might add a second day later on, but it's a little bit difficult to do it in the middle of the week, to be honest. So I'm not sure if we're gonna be doing it. Are we at our goal yet, by the way? I'm not sure if we hit the goal and I wasn't here, or if we're missing one or two. Let's see, Camilo88 says, hello, I don't know if you like anime, but it would be great and very illustrative course of yours with a character of this genre. Thanks for your courses. Yes, I do like it. I don't watch it as much. I like Genshin Impact quite a bit. I play it every now and then. I have it on my phone and on my PC. And I do like the aesthetic of those kind of characters. I am thinking about doing a character in that style. However, I need to find a concept or a concept artist that can get me a concept, because I don't draw. I don't draw in that style. But yeah, I want to like talk about like cell shading and other types of shaders and movements. Like topology and modeling wise, it's pretty much the same thing. It's more about like the materials and the shaders that you need to be careful about. Paras, yes, the reason why we are not going to be like doing this thing right here is because the character that I'm thinking about that's going to be using this mask is never going to take the mask off. So he's always going to be with the mask on. And therefore, we don't need the inside polygons. They just occupy more polygon space and they occupy texture space. So it's not something that we want to have. Check just my notifications real quick. Okay. Let's see. Don Abraham, Harambe, what's up, man? Happy New Year. How to unwrap a model, high poly or low poly? Low poly. You always unwrap the low poly. You do not need to unwrap the high poly. That's very, very, very important. Now, another thing, I am going to be doing a video, so make sure to subscribe on YouTube, about the UV process for this mask. Okay, it's a very complex piece, so I think it's a good like tutorial to show you how to UV and unwrap this kind of objects. Now, let me just do one more thing for this mask. We need to mirror it. So shift, right click, and we're gonna mirror the other side. And here again, I like to press number 3 and just check for any angons. Maya loves to add stupid angons. There we go. Look at that. Why Maya? There we go. Now, do we smooth this one? What do you guys say? Do we smooth this one to add more poly count? Right now we're at 2500, which is a like relatively good one. Mesh display, soften edge. Go. So this will be my low poly, and if we bring back the other beak, like right now, this is how the character looks. That's the low poly resolution of both elements. You can see that they're very similar. This is very important. When you're doing retopology, you want to make sure that it's consistent. You don't want something that's super, super dense and then something that's super, super low. So right now, this to me looks consistent. We can go with this other one. So we got this other beak, which is a little bit higher poly. Since their cloud is going to be high poly, maybe we should do it. So I'm just going to say mesh. And again, the little trick is just smooth once. It's going to give me a lot of polygons. As you can see here, we jumped now to 10,000 triangles. Okay. And with this one right here, we need to bring the mouth back. We're going to make it a light surface, grab this one again and do a mesh and conform. The conform is going to push things so that it matches the silhouette of your element a little bit better. You can see it's going to look way, way closer. This is what might happen, and I hate when this happens. So what happened here is that it conformed to a point that was not supposed to be there. So you might need to do some manual corrections. It's not that big of a deal. Just like fix a little bit of the surface right there. That's one of the only problems with conform, and it did it because of the stitching. So it didn't find anything in that particular position. And there we go. So it's gonna have a way, way more interesting silhouette. As you can see, it's very scrunched up. But again, all of this information is gonna be baked down on the normal map. I'm just gonna be very careful on this like points right here. I don't wanna break it as much. It's a matter of doing some basic corrections. And yes, it's gonna be a little bit heavier. It's gonna be nicer. There we go. That looks good. Let's see. I also feel the same. It's been 2 years I'm learning, and it feels like I need to learn a lot of things. This feeling always will be there. Yeah, the imposter syndrome, man. Oh, I get that every time. And I know, I don't think I've shared this with you guys, but every now and then we do get trolls and we do get negative comments. I remember getting a comment like 2 months ago, someone saying, who the fuck is this guy? He thinks he knows so much stuff and he sucks. And I don't even, I remember, this was way before, this was back when I was next to it. I got a comment that really hurt me and it really got me mad. This was this guy that said, this guy said he went to Nomad. I don't even think he did. He's a fake or something. I was like, dude, like you can question a lot of my things, but questioning if I went to Nomad or not. So after that, I started placing my diploma on the stream. So if I ever need to point, it's like, hey, that's the diploma right there, signed by the big guys and everything. But it really hurts. Like, I mean, we're humans, guys. I'm not a machine. Like every single comment that I get, either good or bad, sometimes it hurts. And you gotta just like let it go and be like, it's just a dude. He doesn't matter. He's not part of this community. He's not a supporter. So let it go. And I've had supporters that were very, what's the word, vocal about their dislike or something. It happened on the last contest. There was a supporter that got really, really angry with the results, and he had some valid concerns. And I tried to talk to him, but he just like went silent and blocked me everywhere. So I was like, oh well, I mean, sorry, I'll do better next time. I do learn from the feedback, guys. Don't think I don't. But yeah, like the online world can be a little bit tricky. Ariane, what's up, man? Welcome to the stream. Yeah, we just ban and ignore them. I know, but still, like, you still remember the comment, right? Like, I don't care about the comment being on YouTube. Like, and sometimes you guys even go there and support me, and they're like, oh, like, go away, or you're just talking shit or whatever. So that's very encouraging, but it still hurts. As a human, it still hurts. see. Blender UV disappoints me, but I love Blender's notes. They made a revamp now in version 4.0, and it's a little bit better. The unfold is working a little bit better, so that's nice. Careful here, we got another little problem. Sometimes when you do the smooth, you're gonna notice this sort of things, where you get like a triangle. That means that there was an angle there. Because smoothing does fix the angles. There we go. Oh, okay, so that's 2 out of 4 done. Let's save real quick. Let's go to the next part. Okay, the buckles are easy. And actually, the buckles, technically, we should be able to do just one and duplicate it, because I do believe they're the same. So that should save us a little bit of time. It's gonna be a little bit tricky to make sure that we find the exact same position, but it should be relatively simple. So let's go for this. See you later, JJ. Thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate the support. Okay. So these ones are, again, relatively easy. We have a curve right here. So I'm gonna create a little bit of a border to create like the little element right here. Yeah, that's right, Aki. And David told me the same things, like, hey, we're gonna be growing and there's gonna be some hate. And that's another thing. And I remember Brandon Sanderson talking about that on his lecture. He was talking about how sometimes there will be books, right? There will be content, there will be entertainment pieces, and someone's not gonna like it. It might be critically acclaimed, but if you watch and see it, you're like, this is bullshit. That's fine. That's your opinion. If you don't like it, you're completely allowed to not like something. So I know my teaching style, my boys, my, I don't know, lectures, like some people might not like them, and that's fine. I don't mind. There's so many instructors out there. Some of them are really talented. And it's fine if you find certain instructors that you don't like. But we tend to think that everyone should think exactly like we do. And that's where the toxicity comes into play, I would say. But yeah, it's I'm a decent person. Like, everyone has shit, right? Like, I can get very angry. I'm very impatient sometimes. I'm a little bit disorganized. Well, not a little bit, quite a bit disorganized. So we all have things that we're working on. But yeah, I do tend to, at least on my professional facet, I try to be as ethically and morally correct as possible. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, jealousy, trolls. It can be a lot of things. I don't give it too much thought, to be honest. But as I was mentioning, when you read them, it just, you feel like a sting, and you need to like quickly forget about it. There's another streamer that I really like, Gotham Chess. You guys know him if you play chess. And he talks about that. It's like he even does this thing called the pin of shame. So if he gets like a bad comment or like a troll comment on his channel, he'll just pin that comment to the top, and everyone makes fun of the guy. I find that a little bit like I wouldn't do that, to be honest, but it is funny. He's like, yeah, like people are gonna talk shit about you, so might as well just have fun. I don't remember when I saw that or who said that. It's like, hey, like in like 100 years or like 300 years, no one's gonna remember you, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Just have fun. Have fun, enjoy life, do what you want. That's it. If by magic I become famous, Abe, you will be the first person I would like to invite for a podcast for sure. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Let's keep going here. It's just a nice little loop around the border, mainly so that we get the soft effect. And again, this is where when you're working on a game or on a studio, you will get something called a triangle budget. So it will tell you, hey, this asset, it needs to be between this and this many triangles, because that's like roughly what we're allocating for the performance, right, of the element. So since I don't have that right now, like I can just go crazy. That's why I'm going and looping this thing. But if I had a triangle limit, I would just remove that loop. And yes, the object might not look as sharp. It will look a little bit edgy, a little bit hard surfacey, and you might get some like weird bakes, but it would just work. No, I haven't gotten any student that gets angry from feedback. That hasn't happened. It's more like when I upload a video, I don't know, Like, I think when I uploaded the hair video for Blender, there was someone that was like, oh, this sucks. Like, you're not even explaining things properly. I was like, hey, I mean, if you don't think I'm explaining things properly, that's fine. I'll take your feedback. You can point specifically with what part that will be more valuable, right? But those people, they don't really care. They just wanna be angry, or they just want to be spoon-fed everything. And so, hey, man, you gotta put a little bit of effort. Not everything is free. There we go. So let's grab this right here. Let's go front view. I grab the vertex again. R. Let's turn off live surface. Snap this right there. This one I'm definitely gonna smooth out because it's very low poly. So let's mirror. Let's just make sure. Look at that freaking angons. I hate you guys. I hate angons. And I don't know why Maya loves to do this freaking angons. I think it's the history. I might need to delete history when I do this. That might save me from getting those angons. There we go. So let's do a mesh smooth. Just one smooth. It's a little bit dense, to be honest. Like, this one's going to be a little bit denser, but it's just going to look nice. Now we grab this guy again. Live surface. Grab this one. Mesh and conform. As you can see, we're going to get this very nice buckle rare. iPadTech says, do you have in mind to Zoom Room workspace tour? I'm a huge tech guy. And yeah, I actually recorded one last year, but it's very messy. And my studio, it's very simple. But I'll do one. I literally have the camera right there. It's a DSLR. It's a Canon M20, I think. And then I got my two monitors, my tablet over here, my keyboard, my mouse, and that's it. My computer is right here. Got my books, and I did build two like big walls to place some soundproofing because I'm in a very big room. So yeah. Yeah, you can use, if you're using Blender, you can use shrink wrap, of course. You should make a podcast. Yeah, we thought about that, but it's we're in a position right now, Aki, that we need to be very smart, or I need to be very smart about where I allocate my time, right? So I have a limited amount of time, as we all do. So due to this limited amount of time, I need to be very smart on how I spend that time. And right now, as you guys know, I am part of a studio. So I have activities that I need to fulfill in that studio. I have, I'm kind of like the human resources on that studio as well. So I need to monitor what the artists are doing, monitor what the like sellers are doing. We have some sellers that sell the experience. It's a little bit of everything. And actually, I'm going to show you guys here another technique. It's a very important technique. And I'll continue with that point in just a second. So since I know that I'm going to be baking this buckle right here, what I can do is I can literally delete these other two buckles and just bake one buckle. It's going to save me texture space because it's just going to be like a gold texture, like a metal texture. And then once it's baked, I'll just duplicate it and place it where it's supposed to be. Now, another thing that it's important here to do is, since I don't want this buckle to be affected by anything else, I'm going to push it, center pivot, I'm going to push it to the side. Or in this case, let's push it up so that we can have some symmetry. So later on, when we have all of the elements, this buckle is going to be baked like up here, right? And everything else is going to be baked in other places. And then we're going to assemble everything back. Again, that makes things just a little bit easier to bake. That's called the exploded bake. Sometimes people refer to that as the exploded bake. And it's going to save us texture spaces again, because instead of having 3 separate texture spaces for buckles, it's just going to be one buckle that we duplicate, rotate, and just move it around. Would you ever make a course on sculpting anime characters? Yes. As I mentioned before, Solid Mango, that's one of the ideas, to do a stylized, again, kind of like Genshin Impact sort of stuff. Do the sculpting of the character, the retopology, and then the textures and the shaders. Because again, for those guys, the most important thing is the shaders. Prejudice. What about 3D printing business of super realistic model? That's a. Well, do you mean a course? There's also going to be a course on 3D printing as well. We might need to. Again, this has to do with what I was just mentioning. I need to be very smart on how I use my time. So my time right now is I need to make the shorts to get exposure and get people to know about the channel. I need to do the YouTube channel. We need to do this streams, and we need to do the premium courses, which is the main revenue source to keep this project going. Moose Korean says, hey, just a recommendation. You would do great with a podcast to talk about the challenges you have faced throughout the years in the 3D world and also successes. I try to keep those kind of conversations here on the stream, So if you have questions about that, I'll be happy to answer those. But I might be bringing more artists to like the stream. Again, it's all about time. I don't have enough time to to do a podcast, and like return of investment of time and revenue and stuff like that. I do need to think about it if I want this project to be sustainable. What are my thoughts on 3D Studio Max? It's a very solid software, Solid Mango. Very, very solid software. I don't use it, so I don't know how good of a software it is, but it's a very, very solid software. One of my best friends in Noman, his name is Constantine. He worked on that one. He worked on 3D Studio Max. He was really good. I'm missing one piece right here. What the hell? Let me go to ZBrush real quick. How are we on followers? Are we almost there, or do we get to the goal? Caballeros, yes, we're gonna have more Substance Painter tutorials. I'm not sure if I'm gonna show the Substance Painter for this one right here, but that was one of the other like premium courses that I want to do, is a Substance Painter tutorial. So again, probably the order is gonna be this month Marble Designer, then next month we get Anatomy in ZBrush, and then the next month we get the see, it might be a good idea to have the Substance Painter on that one and then the Creature, so I can work on both at the same time, because the Creature is definitely going to be it's definitely going to be there. 2 more, we hit the goal. If you're not following, help us get to the goal, guys. 700 followers here on what's the word? There you go, Clarenbeck. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, we're really close to our goal today. Sculpt the Rock. The Rock? You mean Dwayne Johnson? The Rock? Okay, so this is the sculpt that we did. And there we go. Thank you, Gotham Pritush. We just got to our follower thanks to you. 700 followers here on Twitch, guys. Plus all of you guys watching on the YouTube as well. We're multi-streaming. There you go. Okay, so this is the little piece that we were missing. So I'm just gonna very quickly clone it. Oh, it was masked. Okay, that's why it like fucked up. Okay, so I'm just gonna like unmask it. I'm gonna go C plugin, Decimation Master, and we're gonna pre-process that one. Thanks guys for the support. Thank you so much. Would be great to have a list for the upcoming courses on the Discord. Yeah, I've been trying to find a way to have like a progress bar so that you guys can see like how things are approaching. But yeah, that's the at least the 2 next ones. I'm sure it's Marble Designer and then it's Anatomy for ZBrush. So yeah, that one's definitely coming. And we need to decide on the next one after that. That's where someone suggested like the Patreon, because in Patreon you could do boats and things like that. But I don't wanna ask you guys to donate like monthly. Feels like weird. Let's call this mask backplate. I think the because we're gonna be using a platform for the courses, and I do believe that platform has an app, so you can watch the courses on the app as well. Again, that's the thing that I need to decide like this weekend. That's like I need to figure it out now. Just so yeah, I mean, we did a poll a couple of weeks ago or last month, and like 90% of people watched the premium courses on their desktop. Only like 10% watched there on their like devices, like an iPad or something, like a phone. So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant on doing that, on focusing too much on that rather. Here's the trick. I'm gonna divide this bolt right here. So I'm gonna grab all of those faces and then mesh tools. Sorry, edit mesh, and we're gonna extract. All of those faces are gonna be now their own little geometries. Then we're gonna combine with the straps. Of course, delete history, and let's save before anything bad happens. I'm more comfortable with desktop work too. Yeah, me too. Like normally I have one of the tutorials on one side, and then I got my workstation or my workspace on this side. Odiko asks, in terms of portfolio, would one great piece that takes a lot of time blow away 5 pieces that can be done in shorter time? Yes and no, because again, when you're just starting, when you're a junior artist, people are not expecting you to be like a master at your craft. You're more useful, I would say, you're more useful for a studio if you know a lot of the process, or if you can do a lot of stuff, because they can move you around. If you have just one amazing piece, then what's going to happen is you might only get works or freelance work for a specific project that needs a specific thing similar to what you did. And if you have multiple pieces, you have more range. So imagine this. Imagine you're owning a restaurant and your restaurant only serves pizza, right? But you only make one type of pizza. If you only make one type of pizza, you're only going to attract one type of client, which is the type of client that are looking for that specific pizza. But if you own an Italian restaurant and you do pizza and spaghetti and a lot of like different meats and wines and things like that, then more people are going to look for you because you have a wider offer. So it happens similarly to your portfolio. If you have just one big piece, then you're only going to be attracting that kind of clients. And even then, if you're only focusing on one kind of piece, it's recommended to have multiple ones. I'm going to show you a portfolio of a really freaking amazing artist. His name is James Marzano. He was like a couple of terms ahead of me at Noman. He's currently working at Riot. Hopefully he does have some not safe for work stuff, but he started working on collectibles. So he did collectibles for DC, and when he graduated, he only had 3 pieces, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had like this Catwoman, and there was like a gargoyle thing that he had. Like, it was just a couple of pieces, but it was like really like 3 or 4 really well done pieces, and that's how he got his first like couple of jobs. So yeah. Yes, Priya, when we launch to YouTube or the website, there's going to be a big video on YouTube. We might even do a stream or something. Are you going to teach both male and female anatomy in your upcoming course? Yes, we'll be teaching. It's going to be more of a theory course, so I'm still not sure if I'm going to do like a character or if I'm just going to teach like the main things about anatomy. Again, that's still, I need to focus on finishing the course that I'm working on right now before I can think about the next course. But yes, we'll definitely have some way of explaining the differences between anatomies. Okay, now this is another thing right here. This piece right here is a very sort of rectangular looking piece, and technically we can do a manual retopology, but we could also do an automatic retopology with this sort of elements, because I feel like we might get a nice result. So I'm actually gonna again split or extract these straps from the bolts. Oh, I think Maya is gonna crash. Because we could also do it over here, to be honest. Actually, let's do it in ZBrush. I'm pretty sure Maya is going to crash. So let's go to this one. And if we go to the straps, you guys are going to see that the straps, again, they're fairly simple, right? Like the silhouette doesn't change. It's a very straight effect. So one thing that we can do is just series mesh. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with series mesher, especially static things like this. So I'm just going to go to geometry, series mesh, and well, let's clone this. I always like to work on clones so I don't affect the original. And in this one, let's just series mesh. Let's see what we get. Do studios still prioritize hiring 3D modelers when they already have a humongous library of assets? Yes, because even though there's a humongous library of assets, there will be certain projects where there's no specific asset that you need. Like, we literally just had that happen on the studio. We had to do a stylized project, and the characters that we were doing, they're a very famous IP here in Mexico. I don't think I can share it yet which one it is, but it was a very famous IP, and we had to stylize everything. So even though they were like common objects, like a piano, like an office, like a chair, like desks and things like that, they were just not working. So it was easier for us to just make it. Okay. Oh. Okay, let's. I mean, this works, but we definitely need to make it way less. You can see that it's trying to keep a lot of the elements together. So I'm just gonna half and series mesh again. And again, the total points here, if you multiply by 2, that's the amount of triangles. So we're just gonna go again. Can you give me your ZBrush skills to me? I'm gonna transfer them to you. I cannot give you my skills, but the courses, I teach all of my little secrets and techniques. So that's a good way to what's the word? To learn about that stuff. Give me just 1 second. This is still a little bit high, so let's keep going. One more. That's about right. I would say that's about right. Now you can see that we did lose quite a bit of volume from the previous one, from this one. So instead of having this very like nice square effects, it got like a little bit lumpy, like a little bit what's the word, soft. So I am going to clone it again, and then on this one I'm gonna go to subtool, append, and this one right here. I am like, I'm not using the pen right now, I'm just using the mouse, but I have this Huion 16 tablet, Canvas 16 2021 edition. It's really, really good. Huion, please sponsor me. I want a 24 one. But yeah, that's the one that I use. Rhoda Stark says, hola, ¿cuándo será la siguiente revisión de portafolio? Estoy empezando a trabajar en mis piezas y no usar las que hice en la universidad. Enero 19. January 19 is going to be our next portfolio review. What's your take on generalist specialists in terms of getting hired as a junior artist? I would say nowadays, because a couple of years ago, specialists were really like in demand. Nowadays, people expect you to know a lot about a lot of things. So I strongly recommend like knowing a little bit about everything. So generalist is the way to go. Okay, so here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this one right here. This is the low poly, right? I'm gonna divide it a couple of times, well, multiple times until we get closer to 2 million. There we go. And now we are going to project. So selecting this one, we're gonna go to project and project all. Hopefully we don't get a lot of overlap. And that way, this is gonna save me quite a bit of time. Me parecía que hablas en español. Muy buen inglés, por cierto. Gracias, gracias. Estuve 3 años en Estados Unidos, eso me ayudó bastante y desde muy pequeño he leído, visto y aprendido mucho inglés. Thank you, Kravita, thank you. There we go. Look at that. Not freaking bad. Not freaking bad. We did get a little bit of distortion on the square areas. You can see right there. And a little bit of there. But this is one of those points where it just might be easier. I might be using my tablet now. It might just be easier to just resculpt this, to be honest. And it's gonna save me just a lot of time. This is gonna be my new high poly and my new low poly. It's such a like a small little detail, right? People are not really gonna notice. It's even hidden like in between the elements. Oh, that kind of sounds like Persona, the music. That's another game that I really loved, Persona 5. That was recommended by one of my students. Like, oh, teacher, you should play this one if you like RPGs. And yeah, that's a weird game because it's an RPG, of course, but it also has a lot of story. Evil Fry, thank you for the sub gift, man. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Really helps the channel. The lucky one was, there's no music on stream? What do you mean there's no music on stream? You hear it now? I mean, the audio is unlocked. Was it too low then? Maybe it was way too low. I was almost sure that there was... Oh, my bad. Sorry about that, guys. I made the stream way more boring than it should have. This is from... the music is from Chill Hop. Chill Hop. I think there's a link on the info. I needed to add that for like streaming things. I just enrolled to environment creation for a film on Udemy. Once I complete the 3D world, we'll watch this. I was planning to work on a street model. This tutorial looks great. Oh, okay. So here's the thing, Just Graphics. I'm so glad that you grabbed that one. That one's a little bit outdated. It was one of the first tutorials that I did, and that one was done for Udemy. I'm no longer part of Udemy. So unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, it's part of the business, but unfortunately, I don't get any revenue from those courses. They're still very good, and I still recommend them, but I don't get any revenue. So yeah, if you need help with that one, feel free to reach me on Discord because I don't have access to the questions on any of the Udemy courses that I did for Nextut, and therefore I cannot answer. If there's any problem or anything, I don't see them. Someone else is answering them, unfortunately. So yeah. It's another question that I get often about like the old courses. All of the old courses are very valuable. I'm really proud of all of the work I did. I learned so many things with those. But unfortunately, due to how businesses work, don't get any more revenue from that. Yeah. I mean, I used to reply, but I left next to it 6 months ago on June last year. So if you've gotten answers since then, it's probably one of the other instructors, which are very good. Who is it? There's Daniel Da Costa. There's what's the other guy? Yeah, there's some more guys over there. They're really good as well. And it's part of life. Your courses are amazing, says Odiko. I've learned so much. Definitely recommend them to everyone I know. Thank you. Yes. On Instagram and LinkedIn, if you look me, a Leal 3D, that's me. And I answer personally. So yeah. Es parte de crecer, Timmy. There we go. So as you can see now, the belts are fixed. And the cool thing is, if we go to the low subdivision, this is it. This is my low subdivision. I already have the low subdivision. I don't need to do any more like retopology or anything. So I did save myself quite a bit of time. Why didn't I use this technique with all of the other pieces? Because there were multiple pieces. This is a single piece. It's a little bit easier to do it this way. Clavitas dice, me parece muy entretenido todo tu proceso y tus recomendaciones. Muchas gracias. De nada. Aquí estamos todos los viernes. Vamos a estar aquí streameando y con gusto resolviendo cualquier duda. So we're going to export this as the low poly, and then we're going to go to the high subdivision, clone it again. We're going to do just a decimation to 250K. That way, the low poly and the high poly are going to be a perfect match, and therefore all of the detail that we have here on the high poly is going to be baked down onto the low poly. Evil Fry says, I'm always confused which path to take when making those stitches or seams. Make IMM or use alpha for those stitches. So since these were small stitches, I went just for a brush because it's a very simple detail, and I'm gonna have to manually paint them on substance, unfortunately. But for the big stitches, I inserted the geometry. So if you want to go like really the extra mile and make like amazing stitches, IMM brushes, like insert the actual stitch. It's gonna give you the best result. If you just don't care about that, you can even just do the textures inside of substance, and that's gonna be fine as well. Export this now. Back straps. No, I'm not baking, JJ. I'm doing some retopology. I saved myself a little bit of time by doing series measure with this straps right here. You can see the resolution here because they're relatively square, relatively easy. They're not going to affect too much. And again, they're just going to save me some time. Okay, so this one's bye-bye. We don't need those anymore. Just bring in the mask straps low and the mask straps high. Here we go. Wait a second. Oh, the decimation kind of like fucked up. I mean, that's fine. It kind of looks like damage, so not that big of a deal. There we go. So these are my straps high, and this is going to be the straps low. And now we can see all of the things that we have already. Mask. And of course, the buckle, right? Where's the buckle? There we go. So yeah, that's it, guys. I think we're gonna stop the stream right now because I got some stuff to take care of. But it was a good stream. I think we had a lot of fun, and I was able to to move along and finish all of these things right here. Look at this. So we got the buckle, we got this. I'm just missing the back plate, and this is gonna be good to go. So I'm gonna finish the buckle or the back part of the head in the next couple of hours, and I'm gonna record a video about the UV process and the baking process because I know that's a question that you guys have been asking for. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's just answer a couple more questions before we close the stream. We got a dreamer here asking, Abel, it's Abe, without the L. Abel is another name, but don't worry. Do you think Blender is taking over and bye-bye Maya in some years? No. Maya is never going to go away. Maya is still going to be great software because there's a lot of support and there's a lot of pipelines that have been built around it. There's a lot of tools that have been built around it. So it's not going to go away. But what's going to happen is there's going to be more and more indie productions and indie artists that are going to be using Blender and producing really, really cool stuff. So it just opens the possibility. It just makes the market a little bit more accessible, which is the same thing that did Maya. Like Maya did this back in the early 2000s, because back in the 90s, if you wanted to do 3D, you had to work for one of the big companies. The softwares were not really readily available. So Maya was one of the first big players that came into the scene and allowed people to start creating stuff. Now Blender is doing the same thing, but with the free tag attached to it, which is really good. So Maya is not gonna go away. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the stream. Thank you very much for being here. The stream is going to be available here in Twitch and in YouTube as well. That's another thing. I'm not sure if we're going to be re-uploading the stream or whatever, but it's going to be there. So if you missed one part of the stream, just come back a little bit later today. And if you go to the stream sections in YouTube, not the video sections, the stream sections, you're going to find the full stream available for you there to go over all of the things that we talked about, the retopology tricks that we shared, and all this stuff. I think we got a couple of cool shorts that you're also going to be seeing around in a couple of days. So yeah, that's it, my friends. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.